some authors have such boring, bland covers.
Well, another thing, following trends, I have a really hard time with that. A lot of them are just ridiculous.
Yes,
I
it
don't
is.
want to make a video of that. It's hypocritical, not just with trends, not just with covers, but that you need to do what everyone else is doing in order to be successful. Are we in high school again? Are we in junior high again, where everyone has to be the same?
Welcome back to the Wax Quill Podcast. Woohoo!
Welcome back to the Wax Quill Podcast. This is my second interview with Jalen Tellis, the fabulous. How are you, Jalen?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good.
Okay, it took me a long time to get the last podcast edited, and I actually just published part one of it yesterday. I'm sorry it took me 2 months to get that thing finished, but I wanted to say I'm editing part two of that first podcast, and I'm going through, and it just gives me so much motivation. I just want to sit down and write. So thank you.
Of course, no problem. And it's fun because like when you told me it was gonna be a part two, I'm like, there's parts in here. I'm like, I don't remember the interview would be that long. That's what she saying.
We were on for the original video was an hour and 7 minutes long.
Really? I
Yeah,
don't remember being that long. Wow. Gee,
yeah.
man.
So I did split it up into two. It's kind of hard, you know how the podcast is still starting. It's kind of difficult for me to get authors on here. A lot of people say no, or they just never answer back. So I did. I keep them at about half an hour long, and yours like an hour and 7 minutes. It was easy to cut right in half. So hope you don't mind.
Don't Great content. More content, more things, more stuff.
Okay. Well, I wanted to ask you how long. Well, lots of things. Marketing wise, because that's what I'm thinking about right now. How long each week? How many hours do you spend marketing your books?
So as of right now, marketing, I take like it really just depends on how I'm feeling on that day, if I really want to market the book or not. Because it's definitely a complicated thing for me because I generally do not really enjoy the marketing process. I mean, I do enjoy it, but it's like, you have to, there's so many things that's like just you have to follow certain trends to get your book out there, and this and that. And with me personally, I don't follow trends. That's not me. That's not my character. That's not who I want. I don't follow people. I don't follow what other people are doing. I do my own thing. So with that being said, like I try to market as best as I can, and I spent like how many hours I can to pump out. Like just now, I've done like pre-marketing things to post for my new book.
Mhm.
You know, do like certain dates that I have for the post to be out there once everything is together. So I try to do everything before that way those are ready and I can just post them and do where I can. That's just how I do it.
Nice. Out of curiosity, do you use an app or a software to post those?
I don't. I only use like as for like as like posting the marketing stuff
Yeah.
or
Okay. I have a really hard time with social media, a really hard time, and doing consistent posts. Plus, with two kids, I have very little time to sit down and at the computer and be working, and so I usually do that for editing podcasts. I have a hard time sitting down and setting up. Oh, here's my Instagram post. Here's my YouTube short. It drives me crazy, and I do not like it.
yeah, I generally just use Instagram and Threads or sometimes Facebook to post my stuff. I'm
Mhm.
not on. See, with me, and this is like kind of the biggest con of being an author because in order to be successful, you have to have all these apps, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, all these stuff to post every day. It's like it's like people don't understand is that you trying to do all these things, and it's just literally just like impossible. It overwhelms you, and it's just impossible to never. Wait, no, it's not impossible. It's possible, but it could bring such of a burden and just overwhelm you so much. That's why for me, I don't use TikTok. I don't use no all these. I just use Instagram because I'm on there the mostly all the time. Instagram, Threads, and sometimes Facebook because I'm in like a group author like what's it called, a community group page that I post whatever, and I interact with other authors who are in the same genre as me. But as more of that, I just don't like having too much apps on my phone. I just don't like having being, in the internet virtual stuff. I want to be in the real world. And it sucks because in order to be a big time author, you have to have all of these things, these apps to get big. But to me personally, you don't have to because it's like you can't follow what other people are doing because if you do that, then you're just gonna fall into something that is just it's hard to get out from. You just, in my opinion, you just have to do your own thing and just do what you like to do, and try to just navigate
Mhm.
what your journey basically.
Yeah. Well, another thing, following trends, I have a really hard time with that. A lot of them are just ridiculous. I don't
Yes,
I
it
don't
is.
want to make a video of that.
It is. And what's like because when I was first starting out in my author career, it was these trends about either book covers or marketing or all these other things where they're saying you have to make your cover the same feel, or like you have to make a cover to really fit into the industry, whatever. And if you can see, I'm gonna break out my books because my covers are very, very different. You can see, you know, my book Reckoning, the cover is generic. It's just generic, cool little thing. Summer Born. I made these covers myself, and it's how I want, how I envision this covers to be telling the story. And Nightfall is just a cool little thing. This one is the bat is it is very a meaningful thing for the story, but that's basically it. And because I feel like this may be a controversial thing, but I don't care. I think all covers in modern day, some authors, and I'm speaking into the trad industry, some authors have such boring, bland covers. It makes me so mad when I go to like Walmart or Barnes and Noble. I see all these covers. It just they're the same thing. They're the same field. It's nothing new to them. Like the only authors I in my mind that has very unique covers. There's like it really like it's like gets your eye is Riley Sager, of course, Stephen King, and um Lisa Ugner. That's her name. Yeah, Lisa Ugner. Those authors that I've known so far has very much unique covers. They just blends out. They stand out no matter. And just other authors, they just cover just bland. See me, in my personally, I don't read the blurbs to like the book. I see the covers because again, it's true that people do judge a book by its cover. And if to me, if the cover is not that doesn't appeal to me, it doesn't look cool, I ain't gonna buy it. So
Yeah, I can understand that. I used to work in a bookstore.
oh,
Um, that's actually where I met my husband. And I, yeah, a lot of the covers are the exact same thing, different colors, slightly different fonts, same placement, same kind of images, same color tone, I'll even say, depending on the year. And
yeah,
it's boring.
boring. Yeah, it's bland. And
Mhm.
that is why I want to have my covers different, unique. That way it can stand out. I don't care about fitting in. I care about being unique, being different, different from other people. Because if you're just the same person, then you're not going to stand out. You're not going to be a different writer, because if you do the same thing as other people doing, then it's not going to be, you know. And I just don't like how like this agenda, this like stigma of being doing something that is a for the trend to really like make yourself big. In order to be big, you have to do this, do that in order to do this, because that's how the industry works. And I'm like, no, that's not how it works. Well, that's not how I work, more expressly. But that shouldn't be how it works. But fortunately, it is.
Well,
Well,
it's hypocritical, not just with trends, not just with covers, but that you need to do what everyone else is doing in order to be successful. Like, are we in high school again? Are we in junior high again, where everyone has to be the same? It's it's
exactly. And
annoying.
it is. It is. And this is like I laugh every time I hear those type of advice, because it's like you are really setting up authors for failure, including like people like me as self-publisher authors. You have to do certain things to make it big.
Mhm.
You have to you have to write 5 books in the 1 year. You have to write these many books in this many years to really be consistent. Reasons why certain indie books are so garbage quality wise, because popping out. I I remember I watched a video about a young author and how she said that was going to she didn't want to become a full-time author anymore. She didn't want to become a full-time author anymore because she felt burned out and she felt the stress, the pressure, because she wrote 20 books in a span of, I think, 3 years. She said 3 or 2 years. I think she said that 2 or 3 years. And to me, I'm like, bro, that's kind of why you quit, because you're doing that. You're doing that. That is why you quit. That's why you're quitting, because you are putting the pressure onto yourself. See, with me, I'm writing for myself. I'm writing for the artistic value. I'm writing for the art culture, the storytelling culture, because I love storytelling. I love art. I love the artistic value of it. And I'm not going to do things that what other people want me to do. That's not how I roll, or that's not how I do, you know. And I think other people shouldn't do that.
Yeah, I can see that. I really wanted to be, well, my plan was to be traditionally published and then kind of ease into the indie publishing world. But first off, traditional publishers don't want to talk to me. Indie publishers are like, heck yeah. Well, some of them, not even all of them, but some of them, like you. Um, but so that's kind of made me think, I don't know if I want to be like them. But I don't know. The more I talk to like you and Emmy Hansen, and I just think maybe it's not for me because I like being in control of my stuff, you know?
Yeah.
Uh, Okay, going back to covers. It is a pet peeve of mine when they have this cover of someone like, oh, she's wearing a kind of Egyptian yellow dress and her hair is curly and dark and her eyes are brown. And then in the book, she's redhead and she's wearing Victorian dress and it just drives me up the wall. How did you not catch that? And I don't want that to happen to my books. I don't know.
Yeah, it's and the funny story, like I don't I the funny story is, this may come full circle, but because of Emmy Henson. That's how I encountered you, because I saw the interview with you and her the first time. I'm like, oh, cool, I want to do this, so I was gonna come to you and everything, all that stuff. And but yeah, it was funny because during like around like November, October, when my first book was being published, I did have like thoughts of, okay, do I want to see, do I want to keep doing self-publishing? Should I go to track publishing and do that the easy way? Like, should I do that? And as much of thinking like, nah, no. I'm good. I like my control and my stories and my covers and when I should um post a marketing thing in my own time and work with my own deadlines because some of these traditional people they have these insane deadlines. It's just crazy. But no, someone does have cool deadlines, like 9 months to make a 80 80,000 word count book or like 100,000. Like that's cool. 9 months. That's like a quarter of the whole year, I think. So like that's reasonable. But it's like sometimes people be like, oh, I gotta write this book hours per end and get my deadline get crossed, and that's how I do it. I try to write as much as I can to meet my deadline. And funny, I did. Like my deadline for my new book was supposed to be June 3rd, and I finished it in April. so
Job.
so yeah, it was like yeah, just work every day and then work on my own time and everything. So yeah, it was cool.
With indie publishing, do you use editors?
I do. I mean, you
How do you
should.
find them?
Well, okay. Right now I use Fiverr. Fiverr is like I think every that should use Fiverr. That's like a great way to reach editors to help you with editing things. Of course, be cautious because you wouldn't want to give out your books to anybody. You have to look at. I look at the review. I look at everything to make sure this is like a reliable, real person. That's like because if you send your book that is not copyrighted and is not done yet, it's like wow. And that's with any person other than on Fiverr. But I use Fiverr to edit my thing because it's much easier that way to find other editors on there because they are full-time editors and they, like, hey, guys, you guys want me to work with your book? Here we go. The price here, everything. That's yeah. So, and I think every author should invest into an editor, of course. Like if you don't know how to sub like me, I don't know how to sub edit. I try to do it as much as I can, but I usually just let my editors do the whole work themselves. That way, I can add few things myself a little bit. But if you don't know how to really edit yourself, then yeah, invest. And if you do know how, still invest because you can to make sure the quality of the book is as picture perfect as possible. That way, you don't fall into like the I would say like the stereotype like amateur authors have poor quality books
Mhm.
and we don't want that name in our as us authors because we're trying to be big as well, so doing that having that um negative thing as us as like we are amateurs, we write poor quality books, that's not true because some of us want our books to be as perfect as the trap publishers. So
Gotcha. So I've been thinking about doing something, and I'm not sure if I'm going to do it yet or not. But I have some children's books that I've written. I'm trying to illustrate them, but I'm really bad. So I was thinking, wouldn't it be cool if I said, and I documented this journey and posted it, and I said, okay, you might laugh, I have $300 to publish this children's story, and I have no idea how much this actually costs. Uh, let's see if I can do it and just document the whole process and find an editor, find a printer, maybe an illustrator, or maybe someone who can touch up my little scratchy illustrations. Um, is that crazy or is that a good idea?
I definitely think the documenting is a great idea. It's like you're recording your journey,
Mhm.
and years later, you can like look back like, man, this is where I started. And now I don't think it's crazy. I don't think it's crazy, but I think for the budget that you have, all core is like don't like overspend it, because I feel like don't spend so much money on editing, because you may or may not break even. You may or may not get the money back. That's why I design my own covers, because I know how to do that. I've been doing that for years. I know how to design my own covers, and I I design my own covers. I format my own stuff. All I need to do is just hire an editor. That's it. So with that, I think, yeah, I think that's a good idea. And then I think it will be like a much more of a self-improvement. That way you can look back, like, okay, this is where I was. Now how do I improve or move forward?
Mhm.
And again, like on Fiverr, go on Fiverr, check affordable prices for a editor, or how many you want, and look at the prices. And you could actually like type in your word count to calculate how many the price will be, because they have that thing where like they have the word count. You could put your word count on your book, and you see how much it would cost you to pay the editor,
Oh,
and that
okay.
helps a lot.
Okay, cool. So if you were to advise me on a budget to give myself for a children's book, what budget would you give?
The budget. No more under no. I say the max is basically like 900.
Oh,
The
wow.
max.
That's a lot. Hmm.
No, okay, because the name, many editors, and this is like the the truth. Editors, they charge a lot. They
Mhm.
charge a lot. Well, depending on your word count, because they do charge per word count, everything like that. So, but yeah, I say like the max is like 900. Don't go over 900, because 1,000 is crazy. $1,000 for editing is insane. I will hurt it would hurt me to spend that much money, and knowing that I will not break even. I will be so hurt. But I say like, yeah, around there, or like $500, $700, and to really like find. And plus, you could negotiate with the editor, tell them your budget, and you can like work things out with the editor. If they are willing to negotiate with you, if they're not like entitled, whatever, they can help. Like, okay, tell me your negotiation, and we can work things out if they really want to work with you. So that's also a thing too. You could help. You could like talk with the editor, say, hey, this is my budget. Is this budget cool with you or not? We can work things out, whatever. And we'll move forward from there. But yeah, my budget, I will tell you, is don't go anywhere over $900, because it's like you have to be careful to not spend so much money, because you have to think about, like, am I going to break even? Am I going to make this money back with my books? And because you guys spend money on editing, money on marketing, everything. So you have to think about that carefully. So yeah.
Yeah. Well, and I guess that's the hard part with marketing for you and me, because supposedly it helps to sell, but really I feel like it's mostly a waste of time. Hmm. And I haven't even published anything. Hmm. Anyway. Okay. Anything else that you want to say about that topic?
No, not really. I kind of said what I wanted to say.
Okay. All right. Tell me about how you choose your beta readers.
Okay, so I've just started to use beta readers,
Hmm.
because because before I wasn't very. No, wait, no. I did use a beta reader for Reckoning, my with my recent thriller. I used like one beta reader, but that was it. But I usually just choose my close people, my close author friends to read my stuff. Like again, I went on Fiverr and I hired a beta reader to read my first draft of my new book, and I had my close author friend Victor to read the book as well. So they both read it in the same duration, and they both say, "Hey, here's my thoughts," everything like that, and it's But I try to have people close to me that I trust, knowing that okay, I trust these people. I know they're not going to take my book and to like I don't know like sell it or make it as their own. Like they just write their name on my book and they're like, hey guys, new book coming out. It's mine. Like what? So it's just I usually choose the people that are close to me to read the book first draft and because I trust their opinions as well. I know they won't like say it's trash. They were like, hey, this part is good, but I think this would be better. Or hey, here's what I think you should add or cut in this story.
Okay. And what kind of feedback do you want from them? NE has told me that she has a questionnaire for each chapter of her book and that she has specific questions to ask. How did you feel about this section? Are you confused about this thing? And she writes out the specific questions. Is that what you do? Or what is
No,
your process?
I I just let them read it and they give me their honest opinions. Like, hey, I enjoyed this, and there's certain things I like, certain things I don't. And they tell me the cons, they tell me the pros, and we have a long because I remember me and my friend Victor, we had like we were on a call because he read my new book, everything, and we just had a long talk about just the ending, everything about that. He told me things that he felt like it should be added or make things more interesting for the book. And with the Bay Reader I hired on Fiverr, of course, she gave me a lot of great feedback on grammar issues, and pros, cons, and that really helpful as well. So I trust they will give me honest reviews, honest feedback on my thing. I don't have to just write, hey, questionnaire. Wait, what do you think about this? Think about that. No, I just let them read it and they give me their things, and that's one day.
Gotcha. Hmm. And okay, how do you know which feedback? Well, I'm guessing I know the answer. I'm guessing the answer is you accept the feedback or reject certain suggestions based on how you feel it fits with your original idea. Is that correct?
Yeah. I was just saying, yes, that's basically that's how I do because of course I respect everyone's feedback on my stories, everything, and then I admire everyone's I admire they say, hey, I think you should add this, or I think you should cut this out. I respect it, but of course, at the end of the day, as an author, it's my choice to take the feedback. And sometimes, depending on if it's important to the story, I won't do it. I'm like, okay, cool, but I'm not going to do that because this part is very important and it's like a key factor to the story. If I cut this out, then it's going to be a mess, everything. But I wouldn't mind like adding things because like, okay, let's see if this works. This additional segment works with the scene here and there. But yeah, I do reject and I do accept. Mostly the time, it's rare for me to reject. It's rare for me because I take the feedback very like not personally, but I take that seriously. Like I really do take feedback and I do like try to use it to see where does this feedback, how can I use it to help the story better. So it's rare for me to reject it. it's rare for me to do that. But usually, if it's like, if it's like, if the feedback tells me to cut a certain scene or do change things, then I'm like, wow, okay, I don't want to do this because that certain part of the scene is important and that gets cut out, then the whole scene is bad. So yeah.
Gotcha. Okay, so changing topic. I will tell you something. I told you last time that I was starting book boot camp, I think. Did I tell you about that? Okay. So I was testing it out on some friends. And one of the questions that they were all really concerned with was, how do I know that my idea is original enough to be worth writing down? Or how do I overcome the doubt that there's someone else with this exact same idea who is writing it better than I am?
Let's be honest here. Nothing's original. No matter how much you want to be original, there's gonna be a story that has the same concept, the same idea. It could be a different way, but it's rare for a story to be literally original that no one in this earth have not made yet. It's like it's possible. And for someone says, you don't focus on that person, focus on you. It's your story, it's your vision, and you don't know. Your story might be different from theirs. It may be different. Like it may be the same concept, but it may be different. Literally, Star Wars was inspired by Dune. Like, and they're both are completely different stories. One character is not even a hero. It's more like a anti-hero that's Paul Atreides. One person is a hero that's Luke Skywalker. And the story is very different, but it's like the same kind of concept. So I would tell the person to don't focus on the other person because their story may not be the same as yours. It may be the same concept, but how you're writing it may be different because storytellers, they have different unique ways to tell a story. If you give 5 storytellers the same concept idea of a story, they will all write it in a completely different way. Like, let's say you give 5 authors a concept where um, a young boy went to the woods and he found a UFO, or that he found a scary object. What happens next? Literally, 5 of them will have completely different conclusions on what happens next because they're different. It's a different idea. They have a concept, but it's gonna flow completely different.
All right, I like that. How do you know when your story begins? And let me explain this. Okay, last time I told you that I kept writing first drafts and I never really brought anything past that. And you said, write a second draft, get it done. And so I have been doing that. I'm proud to report. And it's going very well. But I realized that the bad guy has to be completely different. I need a new character because the dynamic was just weird. So I figured out a new character needs to be an older woman instead of a young man. So it needs to be an older woman in a different position. And that just really shifts the dynamic and it's so much better placed now. But I need to make more of a past now between her and the main character. So I'm bringing the story back like 5 scenes back, a few years back. And I think that's the right place to start it. I'm writing it anyway, so I can really decide later on. What I want to ask is, how do you know when a story begins? And have you ever had to rewrite where your story started.
When we discussed the first draft thing before, and I said that, you know, when I write my first drafts, I don't write whatever. I literally know what to start and what to be ends. Now, that question, I'm gonna try my best to answer it best I can because I don't want to answer it and like is okay, it's gonna be a little complicated. Okay, but how I know when it begins is if it's a type of so for example, okay, let me give an example. Um, for example, December Reborn, my first book and book one of a series I'm making. So the beginning of the story was a backstory, and it was a prologue. It's a backstory telling the main character how because the main plot was the main character who is a black samurai goes on a revenge journey to avenge his father and then his village. So okay, that's a plot. So of course I want to tell what happened on that day when the father died and the village got torn apart. So that's where my story begins, is on that when the day happened. And then we can move forward. So it's is more like if you want to have a backstory on the certain topic, or you just want to just go through the present day, the present, then that's how your story begins. I mean, again, I can't really answer that question very well because it's for me, I just it just is very different on different books I write. Like for Reckoning is not backstory, just present day, the timeline. For this is there's different timelines because it's telling the backstory, it's telling two different perspectives, like third person and first person. And for my new book, it's telling two point of views on certain characters. So I would just say that depending on the story, if you want to have a backstory, like a flashback, to really begin the story, then you then that's how your story begins. Or if you just want to just follow through the present timeline, then go ahead. Or if you're making a series, then of course pick up where you left off. If you're doing a part two, then do that. You know, if it's like the timeline like a year later or 5 years later, or even like 100 years later before part two, do that. But it's really tricky because it's really tricky to answer that because like, man, I want to answer it as best I can, but it's hard because it's different from every story. If you want to have a backstory, a flashback, then do that. If it's like makes sense. There, okay, there you go. If the story makes sense, if a certain thing makes sense to begin the story that can hook the reader, then go ahead. That's why, like for the Black Samurai, my book, the backstory is what going like reel the read in. Like, okay, wow, this happened, and now it's going to be going to present time. So now it's like, okay, now we are all caught up. So now what happens next?
Yeah, it makes me think of The Princess Bride as you're saying that, with Inigo Montoya, how we don't see his father creating this beautiful sword or his father getting murdered and him vowing revenge. We see him as he's getting tired and losing hope of this search, to find his father's killer, and he's accepting this job to kidnap someone because he doesn't really know what else to do. And that's a good spot to start his story. Hmm.
Yeah, and my bad one. about the answer. It's again, it's gonna be like I said, it's gonna be a very complicated way to answer it because man, I just don't know how to like man because it's different and like it's very hard for me to really explain how sometimes it's hard for me to explain how I do things because it just naturally happens. It's just naturally for me. It's natural because I've been writing for a long time. So it's like a numb thing. Like I'm just used to it. So I really can't answer certain things because like man, it just happens to me naturally. And of course I would try to answer it the best I can to help authors do that, but I try my best.
Well, and I guess I I rewrote the story twice.
Mm.
I had this story and it was really great, or so I thought, and then I switched it up and I pulled it apart in half. And I wrote the story again, but very differently. And now I'm coming back to most of it. The same characters. I had the same situation over here, but I'm going back to the same characters, switching a few things. And now I'm deciding to change the time when it starts. So I guess that's its own answer. I realized it didn't start at the right spot. So trial and error, I guess, is what I need. I guess that's what you've been doing for years.
Trial and error. And that's basically that is the main thing is that is mainly don't expect anything to be perfect. You're going to have trial and error, and it's going to be challenges. It's going to be roller coasters, but those are important, and it will help you become a better writer, better mindset. It's going to build something within you to expand your mind, your knowledge in writing. For your mistakes, you can learn from it, improve yourself moving forward, and it's going to be helpful for you.
What do you think of the advice to kill your darlings?
I think it's important. I think it's okay. I did this one. I really do agree. Kill darlings. Well, depending on story. Yes, depending on story, depending on what it is. Like, see, with me, I'm glad so far I didn't have to with certain story within my books so far. Like I feel like it's it was well no, that's a lie. I did it a little bit. I did it mainly because of Reckoning. Reckoning was the only one was the only book that I had to kill my darlings because on how it didn't mean anything to the story, it didn't really mean anything. It wasn't gonna be impactful. Like it was a filler. It was like just not good. So I'm like, okay, I gotta throw this away or kill off some character or do that, But yeah, I do agree with that. I do agree with that. And depends on the story, depends on how you want your story to be, how you want to structure it, and how it ends as well.
Okay, so just for people listening, if you don't know what that means, I came across this advice listening to videos on YouTube from writers and authors, and it came up over and over and over again, kill your darlings, kill your darlings. And I'm thinking, what is this? Why are you murdering people? And from what I gather, there's two different ways to do it. Very similar. One is, oh, I wrote this whole scene or this whole character and they're just not working in the story, so I'm going to take them out completely and kind of stitch up what's left, and that's going to be actually better for my story as a whole. I think it can also, in my case, now that I've been pondering that advice for a few years, it's, oh, you had this little scene or you had this little interaction with someone, and it's not, maybe you just think it's character development, or you think it's just showing how it's showing more world building, but it doesn't actually bring anything to the story, no matter how much love you put into that little piece. So I guess the size of the piece that you're taking out is the only difference there. Is that the way you see it?
Yeah, I do. I just like, like I said, like I'm gonna mention reckoning a lot because that was like the main story that I had to do that for because originally, so in the book there's two main characters. There's William Townley, my main protagonist, and then his best friend Andre. There was originally going to be three people, three characters. There was going to be William, Andre, and his name was Marcus. But I was like, it's too many characters and didn't even make sense on the story. Now, if it was third person, then yeah, but this was being told from William's point of view. So like, okay, I don't need Marcus in here. So I just cut him off and added two more people. Oh, I just kept two people. And with the story, I there was meant to be a lot more things in the story as well. There's again like I mentioned before, the book was meant to be a novel, like a full novel. They was going to add a lot more things with these spoilers. Those who haven't read my book yet, but no, what? Never mind. I don't say anything. I wanted to say that there were certain scenes that were meant to be longer, and a lot of other scenes that were meant to be in the book before the climax, before everything that happened. But to me, I'm like, this is too long and too boring. I don't want to bore my readers, or I just don't want the pacing to be too slow. So I cut everything off that minute to a novella. And mind you, I was afraid that the pacing was going to be trash, but luckily, with my ARCs and my bed readers, the pacing wasn't bad, which I was glad that it wasn't because I was afraid. I was afraid that man, this pacing is going to be terrible, but no, it was great. So I'm glad that it wasn't the main like conflict of it.
All right then. And I think I feel like taking a break from my books, and this is why I had that whole pyramid drafting plan to have 7 first drafts and 6 second drafts. It's 5 third, whatever, and just be continually having a new first draft and then moving down the line with your new drafts. And so you'd always have a book coming out. The good thing about that is you spend time looking at your other books and writing a new draft of them. So by the time you come back for a new draft of the same book, it's been a long time and you're a better writer. And so you have the distance between yourself and those darlings to where you can recognize them and kill them. So there's that. All right. Tell me about your new book.
Okay, my new book. Okay, so I announced this last week, I think. Yeah, last week. My new book is called Incursion. Is my debut novel, my debut full-length novel, and
Yay!
is a sci-fi thriller, mystery thriller novel. And it's about the main character who is a YouTube conspiracy theorist named Riley Marson, who is on a quest to figure out the mysterious disappearance of a ufologist named Timothy Hall, and he goes deeper in the investigation. He finds clues about Timothy's journey, everything, and he finds right where the main character finds Riley finds that a very intense and a scary, truthful thing that what made Timothy go missing is that Timothy had found evidence of a incursion, which is like a alien invasion happening in 10 days. So with that, Riley tries to warn the world or tries to warn people about the invasion happening. And then again, it's 10 days. So the clock is ticking and there's no time to waste. So it's a very race against time. So such a mysterious, suspenseful journey ride with Riley and the story itself. So
Okay, I want to read it. So Just so you know, I have the dream, along with a lot of other dreams, of becoming a narrator for books. So I'm glad you offered to let me read this part. Here we go. I haven't read it yet before.
Let's go. Let's go. Ready.
How far? In the gripping pages of this enthralling tale, delve into the world of Riley Marson, a YouTube conspiracy theorist on a quest to investigate the enigma of the missing UFOologist or ufologist.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. That's right. Yeah.
Okay.
You
Timothy
yeah.
Hall. Timothy Hall. Will you go? Marson embarks on a quest that will send shivers down his spine. Unearthed secrets are laid bare. Marson digs deeper into Hall's mysterious disappearance, unraveling a web of intrigue that leads him to a startling revelation, a profound discovery of evidence pointing to an imminent extraterrestrial incursion to unfold in 10 days. To know the truth? With heart-pounding suspense and brilliant storytelling, this mesmerizing account will take you on an exhilarating journey as Marson races against time to expose the truth. Can you decipher the clues and save humanity from an impending alien invasion? Prepare to be enthralled and hold your breath as the clock ticks down. I love it. It sounds so good.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And I don't really like blur like that. So it took me like a long time for the blur to like hit the nail on that.
It was
Everything.
good. I like it.
Thank you. Thank you.
And I'm not even into aliens. Like I'm not a big end of the world or sci-fi a whole lot, but I would read this one. This one sounds fun.
Thank you. Thank you. And it is, and it's not fun. A lot going down in the story. It's not fun. It's very scary because it's not scary, but it definitely may make you think. It'll make you think. It'll make you really realize a lot about our real world, our reality. It will make you realize about what's true and not true in our own world, everything. So I started writing this story back in February 10th. It was this month. It was like this year. And I finished writing it by the end of April. And I just started my process of editing. I just sent my first draft to my editor. So she's working on it right now. I should be getting it back tomorrow. And that's when I can get my own self-editing a little bit like that. And yeah, I'm excited because the story for a debut novel, I think this is going to be like, man, this is going to be a very, very interesting to like to see people's reactions, because it's not your average sci-fi alien story. This is like a grounded, raw story about our reality, truth beyond truth. That's why the tagline, "How far will you go to know the truth?" is in there, because that's just the question. How far would you go to know the truth? Because there's a lot of things we don't know about our own world. There's a lot of things that are very hidden and we don't know about. And it's basically like, how would we react to the actual truth? Because as humans, we react out of emotion. So if we find out the actual truth with our reality, how would the world react to it? Because it would be fear or wondering or concerns, and because we fear what we don't understand. So I think there's times where, now I don't want to go, because this is like early on, early in the process right now, so I don't want to say anything, but it would dive into it. It would dive into that. And generally, my beta readers, my friend Victor, my beta reader, they were very supportive. They told me, especially my beta reader, that higher fiber, she basically said that, and I'm gonna hype this up because of course this is my story, but she basically said, and it really made me confident that okay, this story is gonna be great. She basically said, this is far one of the best sci-fi thrillers I've read this year. And mind you, this was the first draft. And that really proves my point about before. saying that I really try to do my best in my first drafts. I don't want to write BS because I just want to be good. It will it is less work for me and it's less work for my editor. And it won't it will read as if like, okay, this is not trash. It's actually a pretty good first draft. Like, but there are still issues with it, like cons. So that's just how it is. Like, so mind you, this is not perfect. Just saying like it's good enough for a draft. It's like it's impressive. It's not bad, but of course there are issues. So, but yeah, but all that will be fixed when I get my new draft back from my editor. That I can work on it. And I can't wait to reread it because I've been out of it for weeks. So I cannot wait to go back and read it tomorrow to really like go through everything. So yeah, and the book comes out next year in March 25th of next year. So
Okay.
yeah,
Awesome. Congratulations.
thank you,
That's wonderful. So exciting.
thank you.
Okay. Well, where can they find you?
You can find me. You can find me in the nearest Starbucks. Not playing. But no,
Great
you can
job.
find me. You can find me on my website, my official website, JalenTellisBooks.com. That's where all my stuff is at, the books, everything. Or you can find me on Instagram, which I'm there all the time. um, Jalen Tellis Official. That's my name on Instagram. And that is about it. That's it. And that's all.
Well, thank you so much for being here. And listeners, make sure to like, subscribe, and leave a comment below. Comment with the word teddy bear. And if you do, then tonight, while you're asleep, a teddy bear will appear and give you the best story idea you've ever had. You're welcome.
Let's
Okay.
hope the bear is not a bear.
Let's hope it's a good teddy bear. All right. Well, see you later. Bye for now.
We must have missed one piece of good writing advice. Please include it in the comments below and don't forget to subscribe. Thanks!